A 2009 DR650 Suzuki. Is this the best ADV bike you could possibly get, or does it fall short? I think the thing about the DR650 is that you either love it or hate it. And in order to make this what I consider to be one of the best ADV bikes out there, you do have to make some modifications. You've got to make it yours. You can't have it stock. So I'm going to go over some of the modifications I put on this bike for me to be ready to have it be the perfect bike for me. Well, since the mid-90s until 2025, there has not been a lot that has changed on the DR650. So getting a new one isn't really necessary. If you can find a used one that's in good condition, you can pick it up, make it your own, and it'll last you forever. You're certainly not going to have a problem finding parts for it. And it's been around long enough where there's tons of mods. It is a single cylinder, 660 cc bike with a carburetor. Carburetors are the one things I really hate working on, and often one of the few things I'll let somebody else clean and maintenance for me. Not that anybody can't do it. There's plenty of YouTube videos. Now, for this one, when I bought it, it was a 2009, and it definitely needed work. And the choke cable had seized up and wasn't working. So I did buy an aftermarket choke. It's up there, and you do have to reach underneath and pull it out. You can choke it and push it in, but in the warm summer days, you almost never need to use the choke. It's usually for spring and fall. And so I've never really needed to worry about that. So mod one was modifying the choke. The second modification was the tank. You know, the 2 and something and change gallon tank. When you don't have a gas meter on a bike, you have to sort of reset to 0 every time and then know how many miles you're probably going to get. And of course, you get different mileage when you're on the highway than when you're in the back roads. So I got an Acerbis tank. This is the 5 gallon. And what I like about getting it in the neutral was the very fact that you can see here, that's where the gas is. And you get to the reserve when you get around here to this line. So I have not only twice the gas that I could carry on this bike in the tank, but I can also sort of have a visual idea of how much gas is in the bike. That, to me, was an important mod. The cockpit mods. Obviously, you want something for your camera. I use an SP Connect. I did get the Garmin Nuvo XT. That has a wiring that goes into the front headlight. There is a spot you can buy from someplace like ProCycle. They get a little cable that plugs in. It's an auxiliary that goes to the headlight. So when you turn the headlight off, the bike turns off. So all I have to do is turn this on. It should be a neutral, and you'll see that all of a sudden that's the GPS turning on. So I don't waste electricity, and I don't have to worry about it being drained. And then I just turn it back off, and we're good to go again. I have 2 USBs. These are designed so that if they are closed, they are off, and then when you open them, it takes a little bit like there, you just open them, then they turn on. So the button here for turning them on and off goes with them being closed. And if you're really worried, I can disconnect them because they're both hooked to one wire. So I can pull each one of them off, and I can make sure that I'm not getting a drain. That allows me to go and have some power. I think that is an important mod because we have a lot of electronics, and while you're riding, that's the time to charge them rather than trying to kill your battery when it's turned off. I did add in these aftermarket mirrors just because I can actually loosen this up, or even without, and I can move these out of the way as I need to. So when you're riding off-road, I can make adjustments, get them out of the way so they're not hitting on anything. And the other cockpit mod is a windshield. This one, I want to say the company was called JLB or JIB. I don't know. I bought this used and the company went under, but I really enjoyed this windshield because of the front rack. Good thing is that it's a nice windshield. I like the curve up. It keeps the wind off my face. I can put something small like a first aid kit up there and it's not a big deal and it's really nice. But the bad side is the company doesn't exist anymore. And I did accidentally one time decide to put too much weight on there and that made the steering squirrely. So I took that off. But a windshield, I think, is a must add, especially if you're doing a lot of highway miles. And I go to rallies and stuff that are 2, 3, 4 hours away. If I were riding all day, I would certainly want a windshield just to take the wind off of the chest. There are 1,000 different rear racks you can get. This was a Chinese one, real inexpensive. It has worked really well for me, and I love it. It does everything you want. It looks good, but having the straight poles allows me to add other things like my toe. This is the toe strap. This is my tool kit. Instead of putting it up front in the fender, it's nice and snug down there. I'm getting ready to go camping. I put my, this is a Helionox table, and then I will put all of my luggage here. So a tail rack is a really important piece if you want it to be a adventure. Dual sports are not known for tank bags, and having a tank bag up front sometimes is pretty annoying, especially with something like this, a Cerbis. But I happen to know that OBR Adventure Gear, they make these tank bags, and they've been great. I mean, they're about 5 to 7 liters on either side that you can throw stuff in. It's kind of like a glove compartment. If you need to put your gloves away real quick or keep some water or a quick tool that you access a lot, that's a good place for it. So when you take off your luggage, you can just have that with you when you're riding around and they don't get in the way. They are actually pretty sturdy on the material. And I think that those are important, especially when space is a premium. When you're riding, sometimes you want to make recordings, or you want to go and know what's happening, or you just want to have a dash cam to record all that stuff you're doing. I took the Inov H5, H385. I have to go remember which one this was. But instead of putting on the helmet, I decided to go figure out how to get it mounted onto the bike. And so it's mounted there. It can be adjusted, and then I can switch it to my other bikes. And you turn it on, the battery's power is about 6-7 hours, and it's on a dash cam mode where it actually will record and then write over itself if nothing happens. And I can hook it into my phone and download material. But I think some sort of dash cam when you're doing an adventure is important because you want to document and you want to be safe and have some accountability for other riders and yourself. I'm sure walking around you have noticed that some of the panels aren't perfect. Well, there's some good reasons for that. First, there was no heat protection on the inside of this panel, and some old luggage I had pressed this panel down into the exhaust, and that exhaust melted it and set my luggage on fire. I got some of these Rhino Walk guards, as well as the one that comes with the bike, and now I don't have that problem. But I decided, instead of having it look ugly, I cut this out, and that allows for more airflow to cool off the exhaust, and it doesn't make it look that bad. But looking ratty sometimes is part of the coolness. The other thing you might have noticed is that there's this disc cut. So what I did was I cut this out, and I actually bought two of these little screws with the knobs on it, and I can actually now take off and on the seat without taking off and on the panels and taking the bike apart. And it makes it much easier when you need to get in there to go play with the filter or the battery or something, or just do maintenance. Not that you can't, it's so much work taking the screw off down here and then pulling it out and everything, but then just parts to get lost. This is really, really easy, and it's hard to lose those knobs. I've got one for this side, and I do have one for the other side. It's a little bit easier on this side because it's closer. But I think that has been a really useful mod for me, and something that everybody should consider if they get a DR650. So this is a 2009. There were previous owners that did not take care of this bike, but one thing that they did do was buy this really hardcore bash plate. I can't remember who made this, but it actually looks like it was almost homemade, and because of the way that the cuts of the steel are and everything. It has been really, really good. However, if I were to recommend a bash plate, I would go to a service and get the plastic one. There's no reason to add the extra weight when you get the same protection. Another important thing would be to go make sure you get a good set of pegs, and these have lowered pegs on them. I also got that from a service, and having those pegs lowered, I will tell you, makes a huge difference, because now I can stand up on the bike, and it feels very, very comfortable. I don't feel cramped. I don't feel like I'm leaning over the bars. I just feel like I'm in a really commanding position. It did take me some time to figure out, because I couldn't lower the brake anymore. It did take me some time to figure out how to make adjustments into my riding style. One of the things that I did realize is that the brake is very close to the clutch cover, and that means that I have my foot here and I slide it and then I push down. And that's how I'm able to go always find my brake and make adjustments. Speaking of the clutch cover, I actually have a cover for the clutch cover, and that actually has protected me a few times when this bike has fallen down. One of the great things about these bikes is not only they're not that expensive, they're bulletproof, and they're inexpensive enough that you can buy new parts. You don't have to worry about dropping them. I have a 2020 Moto Guzzi in there. I do not want that scratched up. This, I don't care as much. This is my fun one. Another one that I've done is, man, stickers. I had somebody at the Fool's Run this year. We were changing my rear tire, and they were waiting for, and they would do it right when everybody else was eating breakfast, and they were just going, "Oh, look at us! Look at what this guy did to his bike." And they were sort of crapping on the very fact that I put stickers. Honestly, I think it's like traveling. It tells you where you go and who your friends are and what you think, and it makes it yours. There is nothing about this bike that is so fancy that you shouldn't be doing everything you can to make this bike your bike. Not just modifications for making it run better and run more the way you want to run it, but also to make it yours. Change the color of the bike, pull things off, put things on. The bike is yours, and this is one of the few bikes that really sort of demands to personalize it. Make it something that everybody looks at it and from a distance goes, that's a Suzuki D650, but that's Josh's Suzuki D650. And that is something that I think is probably the most important thing about having the Suzuki, is the very fact that it's the most personalized bike you're going to get. You can literally look at a bike, and unless it's brand new, you're going to know, if they've had it for any length of time, whose is whose, because they've done all their stuff to it. And the last thing is, do not be afraid to work on this bike. This bike is actually the best bike to learn how to work on bikes. It's easy to take apart. I knew nothing about fixing bikes before this bike. I've been riding them, but I haven't been fixing them. I've been spending the money for other people, the maintenance. And I have done, except for the carburetor, I've done everything to this bike on my own. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time to figure it out, but this is certainly the bike to do it. And so this is my 2009 Suzuki DR650. And as far as an adventure bike goes, 650, 40-something horsepower, absolutely customizable. It is probably, to me, one of the most perfect adventure bikes in the world. You want something that is going to go on the highway, go off-road, not be too heavy, not be too light, be easy to fix and always get parts, and make it entirely yours.